Yo, what's up, everybody? This is RJ Game News USA here, back today with another video. And today, we're going to talk about the breaking news that the Pittsburgh Steelers have hired Mike McCarthy as their head coach. No, I am not kidding. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button. And let's just jump right into this insanity, because I think the Steelers may have made the single worst hire of the coaching cycle this time around. And I'm going to explain why. I'm going to explain who they passed on or who passed on them and how we ended up in this situation. First, let's talk about this. If you are a Steelers fan today, you ought to feel sick to your stomach. Just sick to your stomach, because this is a downgrade from Mike Tomlin. This is basically the white, boring, older version of Mike Tomlin, who won't be able to get you over the hump. And we're going to go over his playoff record here shortly. But before we do, I do want to talk about candidates they passed over. And I got to say, this is strictly a hire to keep Aaron Rodgers around. The Steelers ownership feels like this will keep Rodgers around when he's 42 and 43 years old. The Steelers need to bottom out. You can't get any further with Rodgers, with McCarthy, than you got with Tomlin. Mark my words. So, who did they pass over? Well, they could have hired Mike McDaniel, a young offensive mind, who, yeah, he didn't have a great go in Miami, but he could groom you a quarterback. They could have hired Sean McDermott, who just got fired. I think that would have been a great hire for the Steelers. He's had more success than Tomlin's had in recent years. He's had issues getting over the hump too, but he could build a culture there for you and you know, get you to win, and he'd be a great replacement after Tomlin, I think. They didn't make a swing at Harbaugh from all I've seen. Even Kevin Stefanski, a guy that I don't really like at all, you know, he won Coach of the Year twice. He's more in tune than McCarthy is. In-division guy. Offensive-minded genius. You know what I mean? Get his style of quarterback in there. Maybe you'd be all right. But really, I'm appalled that they didn't get, like, Brian Flores, the Vikings defensive coordinator, would have been an absolute perfect fit following Tomlin. Man, oh man, what a mistake. And, you know, Marcus Freeman, they could have went for him. You know, a younger coach. We've seen the Steelers typically hire younger and defensive, but have that guy around for many years. This is only their fourth head coach now in 50 years. They had Chuck Noll for a long time. They had Bill Cowher for a long time. And then they had Mike Tomlin for a long time. And McCarthy is in his early 60s. He's not going to be coaching until he's 80. Yeah, this goes against the Steeler way, in my opinion. I think Clint Kubiak would have been great for the job, the Seahawks offensive coordinator. They just needed to wait a little longer. But man, I feel like this is a horrible mistake. Some of these other coaches that have been hired that you don't really know their names very well, Jeff Healy, the Packers defensive coordinator, would have fit so much better with the Steelers, in my opinion. I don't know what Mike McCarthy's done to deserve a third crack at head coach in the NFL. We got to go over his record. Okay. We're going to start with the playoffs. So he didn't make the playoffs in 2006. We're going to do regular season and playoffs. 2006, first year, he goes 8-8. You'll notice that's a theme. No playoff appearance. 2007, they go 13-3. This is Brett Favre's last year in Green Bay. And they lose to the Giants in the NFC Championship game. Got out-coached by Tom Coughlin that game. Missed the playoffs. Went 6-10 in Rodgers' first year in 2008. Okay? They get to the playoffs, 2009, 11-5 record. They lost to the Cardinals in an NFC wildcard game. So, not looking so good on his playoff record so far. But then, long time ago in a galaxy far away, the Packers won the Super Bowl in 2010. They go 10-6. They go on a wild magic carpet ride, wild card run, win the Super Bowl against the Steelers. Thank you for that, by the way. Prevented the Steelers from getting to 7 before the Patriots could. Which now, the Patriots look like they're in a much better position to do so. They follow that up with a 15-1 year, but lost to the New York Giants in one of the most shocking upsets ever in the divisional round. Lots of disappointment you'll see coming up when they're expected to win. High favorites in playoff games and laying an egg. It's a little different than Tomlin's situation. Tomlin just kept getting into the playoffs barely and losing to teams he should lose against and can't get over the hump. McCarthy sometimes just had better regular seasons, but then would just lay a fucking egg in the playoffs. 2012, Green Bay, they go 11-5. They lose to San Francisco in the divisional round. 2013, they go 8-7-1. They lose to San Francisco in the wild card game. All right. 2014, they go 12-4. They're back in the NFC Championship game. Horrible mismanagement. They lose to the Seattle Seahawks. Packers, 2015, 10-6 record. They lose to the Arizona Cardinals in the divisional game. 2016, Green Bay, 10-6. They lose to the Falcons in the NFC Championship game in a total fucking blowout. And then, 2017, he goes 7-9. And then misses the playoffs. 2018, he goes 4-7-1, and he's fired. His total in Green Bay, 125 wins, 77 losses, 2 ties, for a 61.8% win percentage. And in the playoffs, he was 10-8. So, not a bad tenure. You won a Super Bowl. It went sour at the end. Does anybody in this league, would any owner in this league rather have Mike McCarthy than Matt LaFleur right now? No. The answer is absolutely not. The Packers were right to fire him, and they were right to hire LaFleur. And LaFleur has also sucked ass in the playoffs. But the difference is, you know LaFleur is just a better coach. Without the ring, you even know it. You just do. Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers have both been riding off the coattails of that ring a long time ago for a long fucking time. They got it. Credit to them. They got it. But they rode off the fucking coattails of that. He goes to the Cowboys, 2020. He takes a year off, goes to the Cowboys. 2020, they go 6-10. Well, that's no good. But then, we're really cooking with McCarthy here. Because he goes 12-5 the next 3 seasons. 2021, they go 12-5. But they lose to the 49ers in a wild card game. A wild card game which, by the way, ended with Ezekiel Elliott snapping the ball at center for the last play. That was Mike McCarthy's genius. Oh no, that was the one where Dak slid. The genius play by McCarthy. Dak is running and he slides. They run out of time. 2022, they lose to the Niners again after being 12-5. And what do? This is where they blew out Tom Brady in his last game ever. And then they go on the road to San Francisco and Ezekiel Elliott's taking the snap from center. Genius. Fucking genius. And then 2023, they're 12-5. They go in as huge favorites against the Packers, his old team, against LaFleur, the guy who replaced him. And what happened that game? That's the one playoff game LaFleur won. They keep being a 7 seed, LaFleur and the Packers. But that one playoff game, the Cowboys are heavily favored. They walked into Jerry World and they absolutely just ran the fuck all over him. Just spewed the fuck out of him in that game. And should have been fired then. Should have been fired that fucking day. Because it was such a bad performance. They bring him back the following year. They have to see it for themselves. They go 7-10. Miss the playoffs. Then he's fired. His Dallas record, 49-35 for 58% win percentage. 1-3 in the playoffs. Overall, 11-11 in the playoffs. 174, 112-2 in the regular season for a 60.8% win percentage. Look, it's not horrible. 60-something percent. I would take that on my NFL picks per season. I really would. But the issue here is the man, I think, is out of touch. I don't think he can get him back over the hump. This is not an upgrade over Tomlin in any way. Not saying you would have found one, but I do think there was some names out there that could have done you a lot better. Like I said, McDermott, Harbaugh, McDaniel, Flores, I think all would have been better fits over McCarthy. This is clearly just to get Aaron Rodgers back, and that's clearly not going to work. They got their asses blown out by the Texans. And mark my words, I don't think the Steelers are making the playoffs next year, returning Rodgers and having McCarthy. But they're also not going to suck bad enough where they're like starting Will Howard, where they bottom out to get a top pick. They're going to be stuck at like 6-11, 7-10, 8-9, somewhere in there. But you got to think the Ravens ought to be reinvigorated with a new coach. And you got to think the Bengals, if they can stay healthy, are just better than the Steelers. And you know what? Teaser alert. I kind of think they might finish last in their division because the Browns can't stay in last forever, can they? If they end up getting the right coach, Shadur could flourish. The problem is the Browns can't find a fucking coach. I don't know who the Browns have hired yet. I don't know even if they have hired anybody. But it seems like since they fired Stefanski, nobody wants anything to do with the Browns. So we'll see who they end up with. But the Steelers, they have no optimism. Where is the hope? There is none. Anyway, guys, what do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Is this a smart move by the Steelers, or is this a stupid move? But until next time, this is RJ signing out. Have a good one.